Alright, today we're going to take a look at dividing integers. By the end of this lesson, you want to be able to divide integers accurately. Let's just start by looking at some models of some different situations. So let's start out with negative 12. Okay, if I'm dividing it by 3 people, so into 3 groups, each group has 4 negatives in there. What about negative 8? Okay, I'm dividing it into 2 groups. Each group has 4 negatives. What about positive 8? Once again, if I'm dividing it into 2 groups, then each group has 4 positives in it. So what patterns do you notice? Do you notice how we had a negative and a positive and then a negative? But when we had 2 positives, we had a positive? Let's look at it another way. If you have, or another situation, if you have negative 10 divided by negative 5, and we want to know what that equals, we can think about negative 5 times what equals negative 10. Well, if we have a negative and we have a negative product, remember that we only get a negative product if we're multiplying numbers with different signs. So what times 5 equals 10 would be 2. In this case, since it started with a negative 5, it would be a positive 2. So negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2, because we're filling in that same blank. So what about 14 divided by negative 7? Well, if you think about negative 7 times what equals 14? We have a negative, but we have a positive product. And we only get a positive product if they have the same sign. So this is going to have to be a negative. 7 times 2 equals 14. So 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2. So let's look at some rules for dividing integers. The quotient of 2 integers with the same sign is positive. And the quotient of 2 integers with different signs is negative. So basically it's the same rules that we had with multiplication. Now let's take it into some real life examples. The elevator in the Sears Tower in Chicago descends at about 420 meters in 60 seconds. We want to find an integer to represent the change per second. So it's descending or going down 420 feet in 60 seconds. I want you to remember that fraction bars are another way to write division. And I'm going to write it this way because we're talking about a change per second, so we're talking about a rate. So 420 divided by 60, we're just going to divide the numbers like normal. The zeros would cancel out. 42 over 6 is 7, so it's descending 7 feet per second, or just negative 7 would be their integer to represent it. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and then try this last one on your own and see how you do. A scuba diver descended at a total of 56 feet below the surface of the ocean in 4 minutes. If he descended at a constant rate, we want to find an integer to represent it. So he's descending 56 feet in 4 minutes. So once again, we're just going to go ahead and divide. So you're going to do 56 divided by 4, which is 14, and it's a negative divided by a positive, so it's negative 14. So he's going down 14 feet per minute if we're going to write it that way. Otherwise, if we're just looking for the integer, it's negative 14.